A big group of people just thrown out. Your service, nothing. You didn't get to say goodbye. You didn't get to say goodbye to your supervisors, and you didn't get to say goodbye to a lot of people.
After 33 years at PepsiCo's Cincinnati facility, it's not the send-off Ann imagined, just 6 months shy of her retirement.
What infuriates you is they're standing there, and they're just looking at a small group, reading off their paper like it's a prepared speech. But it's not just that 40 people standing there. Every one of those people has anywhere from 2 to 5 people next to them. It's their kids, it's their spouses.
A Pepsi warehouse on Chicago's South Side abruptly shuts down, and workers say they got no notice.
Saul Rasai joins us live outside the plant near 51st and Halsted on the south side. Saul, you've been talking with workers today.
Yeah, Jim Marie, that's right. Truck drivers behind us in limbo here, and employees showing up with no idea that this location is shut down effective immediately. The union that represents 75 members here says the warehouse has over 200 employees, many of them not aware the facility was shutting down until they came to work this morning and were told to pack up and go home. Union leaders calling it an unlawful intent to close the 51st Street facility. They say it's a violation of the WARN Act that requires employers with 75 or more full-time employees to provide 60 days advance notice of pending plant closures or mass layoffs.
It was injustice. Out of 29 years I've been here, people have dedicated their lives, their hearts, and everything. And this is the way they treat us. I mean, it's a sad situation.
Alejandro Garcia operates forklifts. He's especially upset since this happened just before the holidays.
That's the hard part, because I'm supposed to go see my family in Arizona, and now that things are tight, it's kind of tight in the belt, you know, and I didn't expect this to happen. I'm just trying to, take care of my family, and now it's really hard that we have to go through this, and I'm not the only one. A lot of good employees have been here for 30, 40 years, have put the hard work on money into this facility trying to make ends meet, and most of them coming up to retirement, I heard, and then this happens,
Take a look at this AP headline. PepsiCo is closing 4 bottling plants and cutting nearly 400 jobs as it streamlines operations. The company said the closures will impact 136 workers in Cincinnati, 131 in Chicago, 127 in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and nearly 50 in Atlanta. The AP left out Carlisle, Pennsylvania, where workers are also getting laid off, and that 400 number is actually 500. Yes, 500 people just lost their jobs at Pepsi unexpectedly, no warning at all. A lot of folks worked there for 20, 30, 40 years and thought they would retire there, including this woman that was just 6 months away from retiring after working at their Cincinnati plant for decades. 33 years.
What infuriates you is they're standing there, and they're just looking at a small group, reading off their paper like it's a prepared speech.
The woman you just heard speaking, she was there at the Cincinnati plant since the early 90s, 1991. The crazy thing about it, they treated the Chicago workers worse. They called a bunch of police officers to the building ahead of time to escort them off the premises. Wouldn't even let them leave on their own. And as frustrating as it is to lose your job unexpectedly when you're just going in to clock in for your normal shift, imagine being at the Chicago plant, the only one in Chicago, by the way. You're working and putting your all into this plant. For them to not only tell you without notice that the plant was closing right now today, you gotta leave, hurry up and pack your stuff, but they also have a line of Chicago police officers like they're about to throw you in jail. They don't even treat illegals like this in Chicago. Nah, the illegals come to Chicago and they're getting free housing, free food, thousands of dollars in federal money, loans to start their businesses, loans to replace you in homes that you're underwater in. All of this is going on, and they have the audacity to approach their dedicated workers with police as a threat.
Daryl Smith showed up to work at the PepsiCo plant on 51st Street in back of the yards on Monday morning, just like he had for the last 29 years. But the forklift operator and union steward soon learned he and 78 other workers were being let go.
We shut the plants down, get some garbage bags, get your stuff out, and leave.
PepsiCo announced that their Southwest Side facility is now closed due to what the company calls physical limitations. The more than 60-year building was used for producing and distributing beverages. Employees have described the abrupt decision as a gut-wrenching shock.
It just made it seem like they woke up yesterday, like, oh, we just gonna shut down 51st. Like, that's all, because they couldn't answer no questions. They was like, they don't know what's going on.
You think they would be bigger than this?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just messed up on the way they did it. I mean, they could have did it way better.
As if the news wasn't bad enough for the employees, they say they were escorted off the property by Chicago police officers. They indicated that this added another layer of distress to an already tough situation.
It was kind of crazy, like, this is how y'all treat, like, your employees.
Yes, this is how they treat their employees that literally gave these folks 20, 30, 40 years of their lives to their company. And listen, these corporations are also a part of the problem because they keep laying off Americans. Then the next thing you know, they're being replaced by lower wage workers. They would rather hire illegals to exploit them than to do right by their longtime employees. Teamsters Local 727 claims the plant closed without any prior warning. They say at 5:45 this morning, PepsiCo sent an email to union members detailing the plant's immediate closure. But union reps argue that violates the WARN Act, which requires employers with 75 or more full-time employees to give 60 days advance notice of pending plant closures or mass layoffs.
This is the first time I've ever heard of people being told you are laid off effective immediately at this scale with no notice and really no answers of any kind.
This unexpected shutdown has left dozens of workers facing uncertainty about their futures.
A lot of people want to retire from here. A lot of people have put their kids through school here, bought homes. So you got people living from paycheck to paycheck.
Daryl Smith has been a forklift driver at this Pepsi warehouse on 51st Street near Union for 29 years. This morning, he was called back in after leaving an overnight shift.
I got back to work. They came here and said, well, we're going to close the plant down. I seen grown men cry. I seen women cry.
Smith is one of 75 union members and more than 100 non-Teamsters who were not aware this facility was shutting down until they came in this morning.
They told us that, well, the plant is not doing good. There's other facilities around that's going to be closed. So we're one of them. And that was it.
Came to the luncheon and everybody's there. We said, sit down, everybody sit down. The guy says, sorry, but we're closing the plant. The plant is being closed now.
For 45 years, Juan Gonzalez says he worked as a forklift operator at this back of the yard's Pepsi plant. But Gonzalez and several other employees were told this morning that the plant was shutting down for good.
Hold up, can you imagine working somewhere for 45 years? So you stay at a company like this for that long for the stability and benefits really? They usually negotiate great benefits. And that's what these companies are trying to get away from today. They want to replace workers with either AI or people they don't have to provide those same benefits to. They also want to do away with the unions. Some companies without unions will go as far as closing down their whole warehouse just to avoid the workers' formation of a union.
I'm in shock, basically, because, I didn't think this was going to happen. We were given no notification, and I'm working Friday and then can't come to work Monday.
They told us that, the plant is not doing good. There's other facilities around that's going to be closed.
Teamsters Local 727 representatives were surprised with the sudden closure that happened shortly before 6 this morning. Union reps say the closure comes just months after finalizing a new 3-year contract involving a little more than 70 union employees. And recently employees were told that this Pepsi plant was doing well.
If you had asked me, is this facility going to be open another 10 years? I would have looked you in the eye and unequivocally said yes.
Pepsi says employees will receive full pay and benefits for the next 2 months. But longtime employees, like 29-year employee Daryl Smith, say more needs to be given to him and his fellow workers.
For people that's been there for 20, 30 years, give us our retirement early. People that's been there lower, place them somewhere else. They gave us some garbage bags to pack our stuff and told us to leave.
We know Pepsi has agreed to continue pay and benefits through the end of December. In a statement, they said the decision to no longer operate at 51st Street is a difficult one. This is a more than 60-year building that has physical limitations. Our top priority is to support our employees during this transition, and our commitment to serve Chicagoland remains strong. Union leaders say they negotiated a 4-year agreement that covered this facility and 3 others just this past April. The ratified contract came after members threatened to strike over the need for higher wages and better health care.
Because quite frankly, when you have a well-performing facility, a long experienced workforce, and a market like Chicago that drinks a lot of Pepsi, it's really hard not to imagine that it's not retaliation.
So what I'm gonna do now? Most people live check to check. Some people have high mortgages, kids in school with tuitions and stuff like that. So we'll start next move.
Union leaders here say they plan to demand answers on Wednesday. That's when they're scheduled to meet with Pepsi at their union hall. Live on the South Side, I'm Asal Razai, CBS News Chicago.
Asal, thank you.
And see, it's no coincidence that this Chicago plant was closed down just months after the union workers started complaining. It's a lot of people not paying attention, but you gotta wake up and see what's going on. All of this is really what's happening right now, impacting the working class black people, Hispanic people, white people. I'm talking about black jobs, Hispanic jobs, white union jobs too. But for whatever reason, when people sound the alarm and communicate this, you have the uppity folks talking all this baby bot bimbo babble, saying stuff like black people don't work this or that kind of job, when that's how most of the baby boomers collected all the money they have now. The grandparents and great-grandparents of this generation, they collect all the money, the pensions, the homes they have now from working at these same plant jobs. But now all of a sudden, since you have these Hollywood sellouts, and then you also have our generation who picked up a bunch of degrees with the debt to go along with it, they're tooting up their noses in the air, acting like they don't know what blue collar work is, like they don't know what a trade and certification is. Unskilled and low skilled work is also foreign to them, as well as the idea of how the stability of those jobs for years moved a lot of people out of poverty to middle class. So that's a Chicago plant, but they laid off some more people at their Cincinnati facility.
A big group of people just thrown out. Your service, nothing.
So about 150 workers will be out of a job come the new year after PepsiCo announced production operations will end at the Cincinnati facility. In a statement, the multi-billion-dollar company says its decision was made to optimize the plant by turning into a scaled warehouse. Brenda Ordonez is live after speaking to laid-off workers who said this really was a shock.
Yeah, Trisha, the worker I spoke to has been working here at the PepsiCo for about 33 years. She says while the abrupt layoff did come as a shock, she did notice some cracks in this facility over the last couple years.
You didn't get to say goodbye. You didn't get to say goodbye to your supervisors, and you didn't get to say goodbye to a lot of people.
After 33 years at PepsiCo's Cincinnati facility, it's not the send-off Anne imagined, just 6 months shy of her retirement.
What infuriates you is they're standing there, and they're just looking at a small group, reading off their paper like it's a prepared speech. But it's not just that 40 people standing there. Every one of those people has anywhere from 2 to 5 people next to them. It's their kids, it's their spouses.
On Monday, Anne, along with a handful of her coworkers, were notified the plant would be discontinuing production operations, leaving her and 135 others without a job.
They had boxes already lined up in the hallway for you to come down the hallway, take a box, go in and clean out your locker, and go. You'll be paid for till December 28th, and your medical will be covered till December 28th. And then that's it.
In a statement, PepsiCo confirmed production operations will completely shut down on December 28th, but the facility will continue operating a scaled warehouse, noting the decision was made to optimize its manufacturing network.
It's been slow for probably almost 2 years. This was the worst summer we ever had, as long as I've been there. Usually we're working all kinds of overtime during the summer, and this summer there were days where they didn't have enough to run the whole day, both shifts.
A statement from PepsiCo said in part, quote, "Supporting our employees during this transition remains our top priority, and we are committed to continuing to serve the Cincinnati community."
It is very shocking and numbing when it happens. I tried to ask, I wanted to know about our pensions and the money that's owed to us for our vacations and stuff. You have to talk to your union because that'll all have to be negotiated all these years, and they're just not even a thank you.
I'm not even surprised. The writing is on the wall and it's been there. But when you read it out loud, folks don't want to hear it.
When bad things happen, you got to just humbly accept that. You know, I got fired from there 3 years ago for the stupidest making TikToks. And now they about to lay off everybody to work at that plant. So it wasn't nothing but God, the reason I got up out of there. God said, it's time for you to go. And I said, I'm going to go ahead and move. And I moved. And the crazy part about it, I tried to get a couple of people to come over here and work where I'm at now. They didn't want to leave because they didn't want to lose their seniority. Now look.
Pepsi! You are wrong for this. Wrong, wrong, wrong. Now what I mean, this is what Pepsi did. The Pepsi plant on the south side of Chicago abruptly closed. And I think, as a consumer, we need to abruptly stop drinking Pepsi products. You laid off hundreds of people abruptly. So I think we should do the same thing. Not buy Pepsi products.
You know, the economy is horrible. We're already in a recession, but these folks, they've been trying to desperately redefine what a recession is just to hide how bad the country is doing right now. Between the economy, inflation, people having less money to pay for these high-cost everyday items, all of that is leading to lower sales. Then with lower sales and higher costs, you have lower profits. To make sure they keep those profits up, what are companies like Pepsi doing? They're throwing away their employees. Yes, they will protect their bottom line and their shareholders by any means necessary, but they will not protect their employees. They're out here dumping employees after 29, 33, 45 years. This is also why you have so many billionaires that donated money to keep illegals coming in. They're trying to replace their longtime workers. And in the case of that Chicago plant, that was certainly retaliation against their workers. They shut the whole plant down after the workers made more demands and they agreed to them. Let's go ahead and get the conversation started. Tell me what you think about all this below. Much love to Starlet. I appreciate you, Starlet, for all of your support, as well as Rasan, Orlander, and Charles H. If you want to show your support for the channel too, you have to use PayPal for now. The link is below. Ladies, fellas, want a balanced analysis, want the truth from a woman's perspective? Then you're going to want to subscribe to this channel and don't forget to like and share.